we see that the consumers themselves are getting way ahead of marketers in every market around the world. We call this the marketing confidence gap. On a general basis, consumers are spending 24% of their waking hours on the internet or with other forms of digital media. So our view is that perhaps one way the marketers can help in starting to think about this with us is to evolve from the traditional view of marketing, founded back in the 60s, popularized by Philip Kotler around the 4 Ps of marketing. Of course, you can't leave those behind, they're still very important, but to add another dimension to that, a dimension we call the 4 Es. There had to be 4 of them, of course. And the first of those is, in an era where product differentiation is so hard to hold on to in category after category, to think more about the sum total of the experience you're trying to deliver. What is the role of the product in the consumer's life, and how can you dramatize that to create a real emotional difference? That's what great advertising actually has always done. It's actually easier, we believe, to achieve that full experience set in the current age. To move away from a monoline distribution channel, thinking about the retail environment perhaps, or multiple channels, to trying to, rather than interrupting the consumer, as we heard from David earlier, to kind of intercept them in a useful way as they go about their daily lives and become a part of their lives. If you can achieve that as a brand, you have really achieved something. Let me now move on to the idea of from place, from anywhere. How do we think more laterally about the way we go to market and where we find our consumers? There are so many options that we can draw from, which is good, but also somewhat confusing. Obama is really the classic Web 2.0 campaign. And in many cases, if you look at the Clinton primary campaign and the Obama one, it is almost the Mac versus PC in terms of the style and mode, the broadcast, the kind of shouting, and the engagement, and the surround strategy. And if we look at the site itself is beautiful. You can have Barack TV. If you go to any of the key platforms, Barack is there in a absolutely relevant and appropriate way. The management is smart. You can sign up, of course, as Shelley did, and then you'll be hounded for the rest of your life. There are blogs. You can have Barama's many sound bites available on your mobile phone. David will be pleased to see that. And of course, they're on every principal platform. There he is on Facebook. So the final one in my set, as I move towards the end, from promotion to evangelism. And I think this is perhaps the most exciting of all of the E's that we talk about, because this goes to the very heart of the big ideal. If you can somehow engage the big ideal and connect it to this work, you're much more likely to achieve that evangelistic effect. These are the 4 things we think the marketer of the future, the superhero, should be concerned with. Thinking more about the experience, perhaps, than the product. Creating something that consumers really want to spend time with, that's more than, but doesn't negate the product. Bringing new ways of value to yourselves and the consumer through smarter exchanges that certainly don't need to be about money. Thank you is a tremendous way to start an engagement and an exchange with anyone. You need to be everywhere. And I think as a rule, it's good to start these days without maybe TV or print as your starting point, because it forces you to think more widely. There's still, we believe, a huge role for those within the marketing mix, but there are other things you can start with as well. Challenge your agency to do that. And where possible, pick up on the big ideal. You bring passion and emotion and evangelism to your brand, and the effect will be remarkable, we believe. So thank you.